Are you a Jew or a Gentile? And how do you know? I mean, you might have Jewish ancestry, but that doesn't technically mean that you're Jewish according to traditional Jewish law. It's an important question, for in the Bible, God gives different responsibilities to Jews and to non-Jews. In this video, we will explore who is legally considered Jewish and from where this qualification is derived, because it's not super obvious. Now first, we know that everybody is a descendant of Adam and Noah. And we also know that Jews, in addition to being descendants of Noah, are also descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yet by Torah standards, one is only legally considered Jewish if one's mother is Jewish, if one's mother is a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or if one converts to Judaism. These are the only two qualifications. So practically, under Torah law, if your mother is Jewish and your father is Jewish, you are considered Jewish. If your mother is Jewish and your father is not Jewish, then you're still considered Jewish because your mother is Jewish, a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Now, if your mother is not Jewish, but your father is Jewish, by Torah standards, you're technically not considered Jewish because your mother has to be a descendant from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for you to be Jewish. And the last pairing, if your mother is not Jewish and your father is not Jewish, obviously you're not Jewish. But how do we know this? Well, it's actually part of the oral tradition that's been passed down since the Sinai event. It's not explicitly stated in the Torah. One reason may be because it's pretty easy to remember. But even still, every law is alluded to in the Torah, and so we will look at the verse. Further, the book of Ezra testifies to this tradition, but first we'll start with the verse, and then we'll get to Ezra. So there's a commandment in Deuteronomy 7, verses 3 and 4. God says, "You shall not intermarry with them," the non-Jews. "You shall not give your daughter to his son, and you shall not take his daughter for your son. For he will turn away your son from following me, and they will worship the gods of others." Now this is an explicit commandment against intermarriage. But let's look more closely at this second part. It says, "For he will turn away your son." Wouldn't you expect the verse to say, "For she will turn away your son"? She being the non-Jewish woman that your son marries? But it says he. Who is he, and who is your son? There are only two possible interpretations, and both actually lead to the same conclusion. The first possibility is that the verse is speaking about your actual son, who in this case marries a non-Jewish woman. The he, then, would be your son's non-Jewish father-in-law. By marrying outside of the Jewish people, your son has been turned away from God, because his children will not be Jewish. Now the second possibility, the possibility that I actually prefer, for whatever my opinion's worth, is that he is the non-Jewish husband of your daughter. And thus your son refers to your grandson. And we know that the Hebrew son can mean grandson. For example, we're all called the sons of Noah, even though we're many, many generations removed from Noah. So then this verse would more precisely read, "For he, the non-Jewish husband of your daughter, will turn away your grandson." But here's the key. Notice what the verse calls the child of this non-Jewish husband and your daughter. It calls this child your son, meaning that he is still part of your family line, which means that he is still Jewish. And with this interpretation, we can actually flip it. What does the verse say about the child of your Jewish son and a non-Jewish woman? It doesn't say anything. Because in this case, the child of your Jewish son and a non-Jewish woman isn't still considered your son, legally speaking. The child of your Jewish son is now part of her people. So remember, for a child to be considered Jewish, the mother has to be Jewish. In this oral tradition, it's all implicitly referenced in the book of Ezra. This book of the Hebrew Bible tells of the exiled Jews in Babylonia who returned back to Jerusalem to rebuild the Holy Temple. Upon their arrival, though, they found that many of the Jews who inhabited the land had taken non-Jewish wives. And upon seeing this, Ezra was heartbroken, tearing his garments in mourning, praying to God. And it wasn't just Ezra. A large crowd gathered and joined Ezra. And then the 10th chapter, verses 2 and 3 say, "And Shechaniah, raised his voice and said to Ezra, 'We have betrayed our God, and we have taken in foreign wives of the peoples of the land. But now there is hope for Israel concerning this. And now let us make a covenant with our God to expel all the wives and their offspring, in accordance with the bidding of the Lord and all who are concerned over the commandment of our God, and let the Torah be obeyed.'" Now, if the child of the Jewish father and the non-Jewish wives, the non-Jewish mother, is still Jewish, then why did Shechaniah suggest expelling all of the wives and their children away? And further, why did Ezra And all of the people agree to this advice. I mean, historically, Jewish people have maintained a deep attachment to their children. So then why would they all agree to send them away? The answer is that these children were not Jewish. And note this. At the end of 10 verse 3, Shechaniah says, "And let the Torah be obeyed." Everybody understood that this wasn't a new edict. Rather, it was a call for obedience to the Torah as it had always been understood. So to recap, under Jewish law, you are Jewish if your mother is Jewish, and you're not Jewish if your mother is not Jewish. With one exception, you can convert and become part of the Jewish nation, like Ruth did. But if you're a Gentile, a non-Jew, God does not require us to convert. For he has a separate plan for all non-Jews through the Noahide code. And it's not a lesser role than the Jews' role. They're two different roles. Anyway, I hope all this made sense. The legal ruling is simple, just look at the mother, but the biblical allusion is a little bit more complicated. This channel is specifically for you non-Jews who want to learn and grow through the Noahide code, God's legal plan for you. So please subscribe to stay tuned. Thank you guys, as always, for watching.